United States Navy just took a long stride closer to dominating the world. With the series of projects that the United States is presently invested in, the Navy is definitely not left out. This plan involves an unbelievably lethal seventh-generation fighter on one of the most powerful aircraft carriers that the United States has ever developed. And it gets better. Even China is shocked. Has the United States begun the development of seventh-generation fighters? What secret plan does the United States have up its sleeves? Join us as we delve into the intriguing details of the seventh-generation fighter on the United States aircraft carrier. With the NGAD and other sixth-generation airfighters being developed, it seems that the United States is not wasting time before moving on to its next projects, setting a long distance between its nation and adversaries. This nation has invested $2.8 billion in building the next generation of fighters, and it proves one thing: monetary investment is not a problem when it boils down to not only dominating the skies, but the world. In 2014, the United States embarked on a mission to replace all its obsolete and less advanced airfighters. It was also the first country to have a fifth-generation fighter jet, and is still one of the few countries with this technology. Not satisfied with just this, the US is now working on creating a sixth-generation fighter jet, and maybe even a seventh-generation fighter. Let us explore the details of the sixth-generation fighters that are being developed and what their impact would be in the world once they are unveiled. As mentioned earlier, the NGAD program started from studies by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, in 2014, which looked at future air superiority systems for the US Air Force and Navy. After DARPA finished its study in March 2014, the Department of Defense's acquisition chief, Frank Kendall, started the Aerospace Innovation Initiative in 2015 to create prototype planes demonstrating new fighter jet technology. A year later, the United States Air Force continued the research with the Air Superiority Plan, or AS 2030, which focused on a specific system called penetrating counter-air. By 2018, AS 2030 had developed into the NGAD program, expanding from one system to a collection of various systems working together. The main goal of the NGAD program is to create advanced technologies to ensure the Air Force stays dominant in the air. These technologies focus on propulsion, stealth, advanced weapons, digital design, and managing the aircraft's heat signature. Also, the program stands to change the usual way the Air Force develops planes by separating the design, production, and support stages with a budget of $9 billion until 2025. It also encourages more frequent competitions and simulations in the design and manufacturing process. This program has expanded from a single aircraft to a family of systems with a manned fighter jet at its core. This jet will be supported by various other systems, including manned, unmanned, optionally manned cyber and electronic systems. These supporting systems, likely to be uncrewed aircraft, will carry extra weapons and perform additional tasks. The aim is to create a system suited for the Indo-Pacific region, where current US Air Force jets don't have enough range or payload. One thing that makes it different from previous generation airfighters is that there may be two NGAD versions, one for long-range missions in the Indo-Pacific and one for shorter ranges in Europe. The fighter jet will use advanced engines from the Adaptive Engine Transition Program and the Next Generation Adaptive Propulsion Program, with flight-ready engines expected by 2025. The manned fighter part of the NGAD program was initially planned to follow the fast development and production cycles of the Century Series fighter jets from the 1950s and 1960s. This approach, also known as the Digital Century Series by Assistant Secretary of the Air Force Will Roper, aimed to frequently update fighter designs with new technology and produce them in small batches. Where does the F-22 come into the picture? The F-22 is a fifth-generation fighter that is designed to perform different roles. It is a stealthy, penetrating air dominance and multi-role fighter built for day, night, and adverse weather, full-spectrum operations. Despite its uniqueness and series of upgrades that it underwent, this formidable airfighter would be replaced by a sixth-generation fighter. In May 2021, United States Air Force General Brown mentioned that the NGAD would begin the replacement of the F-22 when enough units are operational, with a goal to reveal them by the 2030. The F-22 has also been used to test NGAD technology, and some advancements will be applied to it. However, due to the complexity of modern aircraft design, the Digital Century Series approach was eventually dropped in favor of a more traditional development and production method. In June 2022, the United States Air Force determined that critical technologies were ready to support the program for engineering and manufacturing development. According to Roper, the first full-scale technology demonstrator prototype of the NGAD crewed fighter aircraft from the AIIX plane program had been flown in 2020, and by 2023, 3 separate prototypes had flown. The formal solicitation was announced in May 2023, with the goal of source selection in 2024. However, that's not all. Before we get into the details of the 7th generation air fighters, and if it even exists, let's check out one more thing: the F/AXX. In April 2012, the Navy requested information for the F/AXX, a new air superiority fighter with multi-role capabilities that is being developed. This fighter is meant to initially work alongside and eventually replace the F/A-18EF Super Hornet and EA-18G Growler in the 2030s, while also complementing the F-35C Lightning II and UCLAS unmanned aircraft in challenging environments. Its main missions include air combat, ground attack, surface warfare, and close air support. The F/AXX will need to have super cruise abilities, advanced stealth features, sensors, radars, and networking capabilities. This advanced aircraft would be designed to handle air-to-air refueling, reconnaissance, surveillance, target acquisition, and electronic warfare. The system will support manned, unmanned, and optionally manned operations. The F/AXX is being developed because the F/A-18 Super Hornets will reach the end of their service life by the early 2030s, and this new aircraft will replace its roles and work alongside the F-35C, which is similar to how the F-35C replaced older F/A-18 Hornets and complemented Super Hornets. Although the F/AXX will be a 6th-generation fighter, the Navy is hesitant to discuss it because the project is still in its early stages. The platform might explore advanced technologies like enhanced sensor connectivity and smart skins. Enhanced connectivity means significantly improved communication and sensor tech, allowing the aircraft to link with satellites, other planes, and real-time battlefield information sources. Smart skins would integrate sensors and electronics into the aircraft's body, improving sensor performance, reducing drag, and increasing speed and maneuverability. This new airfighter aims for an open architecture design, allowing various sensors, payloads, and weapons to be swapped in and out to suit different mission needs on different days or sorties. This design will likely depend on the new propulsion systems developed by the aircraft industry. While the Navy is collaborating with the U.S. Air Force to develop a next-generation tactical fighter with super cruise capabilities, there is a significant disagreement about whether the Air Force's adaptive cycle jet engine technology, which adjusts bypass and compression airflow for better efficiency, can be effectively scaled for a carrier-based fighter. The Chief of Naval Operations, Jonathan Greenert, suggested in February that the aircraft would not primarily focus on speed or stealth like older jets, due to advancements in detection and anti-aircraft weapons. Instead, it would rely on a mix of stealth, technology, maneuverability, and speed, along with a variety of advanced weapons to overpower enemy defenses and ensure survivability and dominance. One approach might involve a cost-effective F/AX equipped with expensive, high-performance weapons to counter threats. According to the Navy's Naval Integrated Fire Control Counter-Air concept, the aircraft wouldn't need all sensors on board, but would use data from other sources for targeting and guiding weapons. It would be designed to carry missiles, have systems for directed energy weapons, and sensors for targeting small radar cross-section targets, and include cyber warfare capabilities at a tactical level as part of a broader system. The similarity between this new aircraft and the one it is set to replace is that the F/AXX would have at least the same or better payload capacity, range, and variety of weapons and equipment as the current Super Hornet. In May 2015, Navy Secretary Ray Mabus revealed that the new advanced aircraft should be able to operate autonomously without a pilot if needed. This project might create multiple systems to replace the F/A-18EF and EA-18G instead of just one aircraft. The Navy, with the Air Force, is exploring different options for their next-generation aircraft. Greenert prefers a plane that can be optionally manned, allowing it to carry either a pilot or additional sensors. Also, the aircraft must be able to operate from Nimitz-class and Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carriers. Now, to the most important question, is the United States working on a seventh-generation fighter? Well, let's get into it. While the sixth-generation fighters like the NGAD and F/AXX are being developed, ready to dominate the skies, some defense experts are already thinking about seventh-generation fighters and what they would be like. However, moving to a seventh-generation fighter would need careful thought about ethical, moral, and legal issues, as well as technological challenges. High development costs might also mean working together with other countries. The United States doesn't watch things unfold. They influence the movement, bringing new advancements to the military world. Sometimes these are small steps, and other times they are big leaps. In military hardware, most progress is evolutionary, building on past successes rather than revolutionary, which would take designers in a completely new direction. This is true for the B-21 Raider, which is now being developed. It builds on the successes of the B-2 Spirit, and both have a flying wing design. Similarly, most sixth-generation fighter designs improve on what worked with fifth-generation aircraft. We'll get into the details of the B-21 later in the video. The next question is, what should be expected from the next generation beyond what's already being tested? Even aviation experts can only guess what it might look like. According to Garth Jennings, an editor at Jane's, no one has been heard talking about the seventh generation of airfighters, and everyone is focused on the sixth generation that is yet to be unveiled. Jennings also noted that the idea of aircraft generations isn't fixed. Before today's modern fighters, no one talked about specific generations for aircraft. He explained that the term generations only started being used when Lockheed Martin called the F-35 a fifth-generation fighter. According to this, older aircraft were then classified into previous generations, like the F-4 becoming a third-generation fighter and the Eurofighter a fourth-generation fighter. However, Lockheed Martin already admitted that it was a marketing strategy, but it has become widely used. According to Jennings, each new generation of aircraft builds on the key features of the previous ones while adding new improvements and making it suitable to take on newly developed threats. For instance, the third-generation F-4 Phantom kept the supersonic speed of the earlier generation, but added advanced mission computing and guided missiles for its time. Also, fourth-generation aircraft built on earlier improvements by adding fly-by-wire and advanced avionics, while fifth-generation aircraft added stealth, sensor fusion, and supercruise. It's obvious that the sixth-generation aircraft will include new capabilities like flexible payloads, adaptable airframes, long-range sensing, advanced computing, laser weapons, advanced materials, intelligent maintenance, reconfigurable architecture, cyber protection, manned-unmanned teaming, trusted AI reasoning, airspace integration, hypersonic propulsion, space technologies, and a future wearable cockpit. These aircraft will also be designed to be affordable and use futuristic manufacturing methods. It's important to note that aircraft have been consistently upgraded over the past 80 years. In contrast, the U.S. military still uses the M1 Abrams, a third-generation main battle tank. There are two reasons for this. First, the M1 Abrams was a revolutionary advance, not just an improvement, and it might have reached a peak of armored capability until new technology comes along. Second, the M1 Abrams has been steadily upgraded in ways that fighter aircraft usually aren't. However, the Cold War-era B-52 Stratofortress is still a capable bomber and will keep serving even when the B-21 Raider is introduced. By the time the B-52 is retired, it could have been in service for nearly 100 years, which is rare for military equipment. This longevity is thanks to the continuous improvements it has received. Jet fighters have become multi-role aircraft and keep evolving. This is why the 70-year-old B-52 and 50-year-old M1 Abrams tanks are still in use. while plans are already being made to replace the fifth-generation F-22 Raptor, which only started service in 2005. Despite all this, some people in the aerospace industry are already thinking about future aircraft beyond those currently being developed. The big question is what the next generation might look like. We can look at today's technological advances in the civilian world to get an idea of what the next big leap forward could bring. Technology analyst Rob Enderle from the Enderle Group explained that advancements like the metaverse, 3D metal printing, and realistic simulation are speeding up the creation of new weapons, including fighters. He also mentioned that autonomous technology is becoming more practical, and the idea of human digital twins could allow for next-generation fighters not limited by human weaknesses. Enderle said that while it often takes a war to speed up aircraft development, there is absolutely no reason why future high-performance fighters could not be built in months instead of years and be flown by a digital twin of a top pilot. The seventh-generation fighter might not take decades to develop and could be a response to the advancements of the sixth generation. Jennings said it's likely the next generation will build on current technologies and add new, unknown capabilities that will make it more advanced. However, he noted that predicting these new technologies is difficult since anything we can imagine is already being considered for the sixth generation. Jennings believes that by the time we think about the seventh generation, technology might allow for fully unmanned autonomous aircraft. The challenges would not be technological, but rather ethical, moral, and legal concerning society's comfort with such capabilities. It is also likely that designing, developing, and producing the next generation fighter will need multinational cooperation. Jennings explained that, like the fourth, fifth, and sixth generations, any next generation program will probably involve collaboration between multiple countries, especially in the West. This is because of the high costs, the need for shared requirements, and the goal of maximizing exports to help cover expenses. While Enderle suggested that development times could be shortened, Jennings isn't as sure. Technology is advancing quickly, allowing for faster prototyping and production with printed materials and computer-aided design. However, costs will still be a major factor. Jennings also pointed out that the time between each generation has gotten longer because technologies have become more complex, even as they have become more stable. The rapid advancements seen early in the jet age are now more gradual. Additionally, development, manufacturing, procurement, and operating costs have increased. As a result, many countries prefer to keep using and upgrading older aircraft, as it is faster and cheaper than developing new ones. Now, let us get back to the B-21 Raider, a new bomber that is presently being developed for the United States Air Force. The B-21 Raider is a new bomber being built by Northrop Grumman for the United States Air Force. It is supposed to be really good at staying hidden from enemies and can fly really far to drop bombs. The Air Force plans to use it instead of older bombers like the B-1 Lancer and B-2 Spirit by 2040, and maybe even the B-52 Stratofortress later on. The Long-Range Strike Bomber program started in 2011. The Air Force asked for companies to make a new bomber in July 2014. Northrop Grumman got the job in October 2015. Other companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin tried but lost. In October 2016, the Government Accountability Office said Northrop Grumman was picked because it was cheaper. The Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office is managing the B-21 program, not the usual way. But they still have to report to Congress. The Air Force wants the bomber to do more than just drop bombs. They want it to gather intelligence and fight other planes too. They say it will be really advanced, like a sixth-generation plane. By 2040, the B-21 will take over for the Air Force's old B-1 and B-2 bombers. They're from the 80s and 90s. It might also replace the B-52, which is even older. The Air Force wants to upgrade its bombers and most of its nuclear weapons, including missiles. They're thinking a lot about using the B-21 in Asia, especially if there is a conflict with China. In March 2022, Air Force Secretary Frank Kendall III talked about using a drone alongside the bomber. But they decided not to do it because it wouldn't be much cheaper. They're also thinking about getting a new long-range fighter to protect the B-21 in dangerous places and fight off enemy planes. There are several advanced projects presently being developed, and yet to be unveiled or operated. Rather than focusing on the seventh generation of air fighters, the right question should be, what impact would these sixth-generation fighters have on the world? Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.